What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Insurance Isn't Boring. I'm your host, Elijah Corujo, joined as always by my running buddy, Xander Wolle, representing Charleston, South Carolina. This is episode 24, I believe, and we got a doozy for you. Special guest, Scott Schnitzer, who little bit of street cred to brag on him. Top producer with our company. Insane recruiter. He is popping out agents left and right. And we're going to pick his brain and dive into what's working for him. But Scott, welcome to the show, brother. How you doing today, man?
Good, man. How are you? Let's go.
Living the dream. Living the
Better,
dream.
better than I deserve. My
I feel like
audio
I've
is
heard
working,
that
so
before.
that's a good thing.
Yeah, man. The beard is
Yeah.
looking crispy. What are you watering that thing, man?
You know, they sent this packet with the chia plant that I bought. No, I'm just kidding. No,
I
I'm just
might need to
kidding.
give that a try.
It's funny because I'll be in our virtual workroom that we have, and once everyone leaves, there'll always be this one guy with a beard. He's like, "Hey, man, I just got a question. What are you using for it?" Nothing special.
Nothing special, just some salt water.
Yeah,
I
Himalayan.
like it, man. I like it. Well, we want to pick your brain on a few things. We've had a few different guests on, but you've got a unique story with how long you've been here and just how quick you're getting results, like insane results. You're not just scraping by either. And
Appreciate that.
I selfishly wanted to have you on here so that we could learn from you. And so you can be as unfiltered and candid as you like. We've got a lot of Symmetry agents who listen to us, but also agents that just happen to find us online. And I think your voice is going to resonate with a lot of the listeners, so it'll be good. But
Cool, man. I'm honored by it. I wanted to be on to hang out with you guys.
yeah, dude.
Our agents love you. You've got massive respect from of course, like I said, Symmetry agents, and I'm sure from those who get the value from your podcast. But I just love who you are and what you represent. So this selfishly for me was like hangout time too, man. So pumped for it.
I like it, dude. Well, before we kick things off, just to establish a little bit of street cred, give the people a reason to listen to us. Xander, what have you sold so far this week, man? What do you have for the week so far?
I'm looking at my numbers. I am like $20 below 6,500 for the week, with a couple
beating you.
appointments left today. So we'll see what happens.
I'm at 6 sales for 65.50 for the week so far. Just getting back into the rhythm.
It's close. It's close.
It's
Yeah,
close.
You had to beat me by $100, man.
Elijah's still shaking off the jet lag from Portugal, so
This is true.
he's making it. Yeah.
This is true. Scott, what do you have for the week, man? Or what's your team at for the week?
Yeah, I was gonna say I'm at 70,000, so I got you guys beat for the week. So
We've lapped us 7 times over.
no,
night.
I'll probably throw down a policy or two this afternoon, but my focus right now is a little bit different. Although I love producing, I love working with clients and spent so much time doing that in 2024. There was a shift that happened in my agency, and a lot of my time now is focused on being a director of the agency that I've built and helping people do what you guys are doing. I want to make sure that people are getting what they want out of this opportunity. So I'm here to help them.
Do you like that job more than the production side?
It's so much better. I don't want to brag. It's so much better. No, I think it's harder. I think it's harder. People are tough.
Yeah.
People are really, really tough. You're dealing with a lot of different personalities, a lot of different goals and visions. And ultimately, if you're the leader of an organization, your battery is getting plugged into by a lot of people. So it could be really tough. I feel like I get more filled up by it, Elijah.
Yeah.
But it's a lot of work. And in the life insurance industry, especially an opportunity like this, you get to choose your path when you start. You get to choose builder path, you get to choose producer path, or you choose both at the same time. And I have massive respect for both, because when I got here, I needed to make an income fast, man. I came from a pretty good salary job, always worked W-2, and now I'm jumping into 1099 commission sales. and bills are rolling in. And like I got to the end of my second month. I'll be really transparent with those who are listening, and then I can talk about some of the more fun numbers that I had to show from that first year. But I came to the end of the second month and made $4,000 in the first 2 months and spent $3,000 on leads. So I'm
Man.
walking out to the kitchen having a conversation with my wife, and I'm like, babe, if I don't figure out production, we're going to be homeless. Well, that means you're going to be homeless too with me. You're going to be homeless too with me. Like, I got to figure this out. So very first year in the field, over the first 12 months, I ended up netting $135,000. Had a
Incredible.
really slow start. So a lot of that was built on the consistency towards the back end of the year. But I think once you see this, like once you really know how to connect with a client, you can't unsee it. Like I
Mm.
remember after getting like a really good month underneath my belt, the only thing that challenged me after that was myself, right? I had the process down, I had the script down, I knew how to understand people's objections and where they were really coming from. Because we, as new agents, we deal with smoke screens. Like that's the objection I'm hearing, but that's probably not what they're actually saying or meaning behind it.
Right.
So, once I worked through all that stuff, after that, the only thing that held me back and made me potentially have a bad week or a bad month was myself. So, yeah, I ended up having a decent first year and just have built upon that. And man, yeah, like I said, once you see the opportunity and once you really learn that skill set, you can't really unsee it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's like riding a bike.
And I'm actually curious, the leads have honestly changed even since I've been here. Like I remember back when it was B1 through 5, now it's MI, CI this. I'm really curious because I see this with a lot of new agents. They see the leads that I'm working and they see the conversations that I'm having, and you still get objections on A leads. Like I'm not going to act like you don't, but what are you advising agents to come in and start on to maybe avoid some of that? Hey, I invested three grand in leads, only had 4,000 in commissions. How are you helping new agents think about that? Because there's a lot of people that are like making that transition from a W-2 to a 1099. Where should I start, particularly with leads?
Are we talking like no experience for that newer agent? Like no
Zero
life insurance
experience,
experience?
right?
Yeah, because that was me,
Same.
and I think a lot of like when financial advisors talk on a podcast, they're like, this is not financial advice. This is just a recommendation. I'm also saying the same thing because I respect so many different builders out there and how they start their new agents. But for me, I needed to start on the cheaper leads. I didn't even understand what an IUL versus term was when I started.
Me too.
So I'm dealing with like these concepts and like what the policies actually offered, which once you learn that stuff, your competency goes through the roof when you're answering questions with a client because our ultimate goal is to serve them well. And when we provide massive value for that client, they're gonna buy. They may go into it thinking like I've got a budget of $50 a month, and they come out spending $140 a month with you because the value is there. So that learning curve is huge. And I obviously, like I said, came in here with no experience. So I started on practice leads. They were like B4s and B5s, and really got my teeth kicked in, mainly because here's what my upline was telling me was the amount of dials and contacts and appointments I needed to set, and I came in with sales experience and an ego. And so there's
Mm.
probably a lot of dudes listening to this call. I think women could deal with this too, but especially for you dudes that are listening, like coming from a different sales job, just because you were at the top 5% of your last career does not mean that you're at the top 5% of a life insurance career if this is the first time you're doing it. So you have to go through like swallowing that pride and really being a student to the game and trusting the metrics that are being given to you. Okay. Because I'm dialing B4 and B5 leads, and Xander, I'm like, I'm just going to get this client on the phone. I'm going to have a smooth conversation. We're going to connect like personally, and they're
Love it.
going to like me and they're going to end up buying a policy. And that was the exact opposite. I actually had to be more robotic at the beginning and really read off a script until
Mm.
that script then became so natural for me. So it was B4 and B5 leads for me. I actually, when I started, that's all that was available. And then after my first year, they started really getting excited about the digital leads. So I went from a B4, B5 lead. After my first about 45 days, I moved up to like a B3 and B2 lead, right? What do they call those now? Like CICs and
CIBs,
Ds?
MIBs. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So it would have been a CIB and a
MID.
CIC, the equivalent,
Mm.
right? So
Yeah.
if you're listening to this, and you're not in our specific IMO, you're probably thinking like a 4 month, 5 month old lead, right?
Yeah. Super
Okay.
cheap.
So I'm dealing with this because I can't afford to go grab a grip of A leads and fumble through an objection and not even understand what they're asking me really in their questions, because I would have gone broke really quickly. So I just, once I realized like this is a numbers game, this is a skill set game, this is a competency game. I need all three of those things to do really well here. So I need the activity, I need to gain skill set, and I need to gain competency. And so I started off lower because I didn't want to blow myself out of the water earlier on. So that's how I would start a new agent. All I have to go off of is my own experience and then the data that I get from helping the people out on my team. So we're starting them out there, but our goal is like, man, get to your first 15 policies as soon as possible so we can start working some A leads together,
Heck yeah.
Yeah.
you
I
know, and
like
then
that.
it's a mix. Yeah, it's a mix from
Yeah.
there.
You've been with Symmetry now, what, 4 years, Scott?
So,
Little over
funny
4?
story, I got licensed 4 years ago. I sat on the sidelines for a whole year. I got licensed in June 2021 and sat on my license until September 2022. So it's been about 30, going all in on this, it's been about 34 months. Someone's really good at math listening to this right now, and they're going to call me out and they're going to say that was 35 months, bro. So it's been all in for 34 months, but that whole first year, Elijah, I knew that the vision was there. I just worked for a family
Mhm.
business at the time, and it was really hard to cut ties. Like I
I know
worked for
what
my
that's
dad.
like.
I was helping him build his dream, and like my dad owns a power sports dealership, so it was so much fun working with him. There could be good and bad situations working with family. We had a really good
Oh,
one,
yeah.
and I had a vision of being building a life with my family and being present with them and having more time flexibility. And if anyone here has worked at a dealership listening, you know that there's no time flexibility for family with a dealership. In fact, I tried to start working from home when I worked there, Elijah, and they didn't like that very much. I'm like, I'm
They're like, he can't
I'm
be
setting
selling
up
cars from
deals.
house.
Yeah, I'm setting up deals, but they're like, you're not here though. You're a sales manager. That doesn't work well for us. So
Mm.
I sat on that vision that whole first year. I actually went to conference in September 2022 in Denver. And I remember, I kind of woke up on a little bit of a adrenaline rush the next morning, and I pop out my phone while I'm on a jog going over the bridge in Denver right next to the stadium. And I pull out my phone and I start recording. I'm like, hey, I'm starting a life insurance business. I'm going all in. And like, this was like my declaration to family and friends too. So imagine my family who thinks I'm going to be taking over the dealership from my dad someday hearing
Oh,
this.
man.
So I really made a bold statement, and I was just like, look, this is the path I want to carve for my family. I'm going all in. And so that's really when it started. So September 2022 was my all in
Mm.
date. Yeah.
Wow. When so I think this would be a really good opportunity for you to pour into Xander, because for a couple reasons. One, you're married, Scott. How long you been married to Kate?
4 years.
4 years? I've been married
Yep.
about the same time as you. You guys just had a baby. Baby number 1 or baby number 2?
We just had baby number two. Yeah, we've got a little bit over a 1 month old, and we've got a 19-month old. It's crazy over here. So
I
it's
love it.
crazy over here. Xander, this house is like, dude, just yeah, come hang out
I
sometime.
I got no kids yet, but we definitely want to have a few. Been married a couple years. Xander just got engaged like a couple
Congrats,
weeks
man.
ago.
Let's go.
Appreciate
Um,
it.
Yeah.
he's also in Xander's this month 2 or month 3 of AO for you. Month 3, come hell or high water, he's got 4 weeks to make it happen, and he will. But what advice, Scott, would you give to Xander? He's newly engaged. Stuff's getting real, and he's almost at the start line. AO agency owner, a lot of people think, oh, I've arrived. That's when
Yeah.
it gets real. That's like when you really start your journey here. But what would you tell him, man? What should he focus on
Yeah.
month 3?
Yeah. Well, I'll give you a big picture here, because there's going to be some things that like I want to be really transparent about the struggles that I went through then, and then some things that I'm still really dealing with now. We hit AO in March 2023, so about 6 months after we started, and that was really like the starting line, Xander. So just like Elijah just said, so first and foremost, like our relationship is most important to us, and we're running this business together. My wife was an excellent producer, so we did our AO run together. Okay, so we're both building this business. I'm not sure what your wife does, Xander, but for us, I think the tipping point for me, like the really, and the eye-opening part for me all came down to schedule and like where my time was going, and really what I said I was valuing most, and what my schedule was reflecting that I valued most. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
like if I said like, I'm a family man, and I value my marriage first, and I value my relationships and my business, and I did it in that order. Or I said, I'm a godly man first, more importantly, than a husband, and I value my relationships and then my business. If I said it was in that order, but my schedule didn't reflect that, that's where most of my problems came from. So
That's
I
good.
would I would recommend like long term looking at this, just really being intentional. I remember my wife came to me right before Liam was born, and I have no problem sharing the story because I've taken massive action on this situation, and I'm still learning. I'm still getting better. But she came to me and she's like, "Look, I know we are gonna make it well here. Like I know we're gonna end up blowing this agency up, and we're gonna have a beautiful life, and the future is looking awesome." But I'm really scared to bring this kid into the world right now because you are so busy and unavailable. Like I can't, I don't know what it's going to look like once Liam arrives, you
Yeah.
know? And for me, it's like, guys, I don't know if you've read Leadership and Self-Deception. It's a really good book to kind of combat some of these things I was struggling with. But in my perception, I was like, I'm grinding, I'm providing, there's a lot of income coming into our new business. I'm fighting for the future. Like, so that was my perspective, but hers was like, well, you're unavailable and you're pouring all your energy into this. So I would catch that early on and just like master your schedule as much as you possibly can. I do a value-based schedule. So those values I just listed out to you, they go on the calendar first in order,
Mm.
right? So that my family and God's not getting the last of me, it's getting the first of me, and that my business is getting, in order of importance. So if you really fill out a time block calendar, it should reflect exactly what you value, right? Because uh, you know, you don't grow by subtraction. I think we all know that, right? You grow by addition. So growing by subtraction would look like this. I'm just going to lock in for the next 4 years and grow my business. And then I'm going to get in really good shape and grow my marriage. And we're going to do a bunch of fun stuff together. That's growing by subtraction. Growing by addition would mean I'm going to be an excellent husband. I'm going to stay in shape, and my business is going to get the best of me all at the same time. And that means that your battery's getting bigger. Your lid's getting bigger, right? I know there's probably some Maxwell fans listening to this call right now.
Yeah.
Your lid's going to get bigger, and so I would, growing by addition is really important. You don't want to be a you don't want to sacrifice your marriage just to grow your business in a season. You don't want to
Yeah.
sacrifice
Mm.
your relationship just to grow a business in a season. So yeah, I would, big picture. You got this month. You're gonna hit it. You've already done it. Okay,
Yeah.
you've already done it. You're gonna be fine. But big picture, yeah, focus your schedule on what you value most, because we can
That's
get caught
good.
up in this thing. It's fun. There's a lot of work that goes into building a big agency, but it's really fun. So yeah, pour into the other areas just as much.
Mm.
Yeah, no, that's phenomenal advice. And I don't know what it was that I saw a video the other week, and it was a science teacher, and he was talking about life, interestingly enough. And he had a jar, and he had rocks, and then he had pebbles, and he had a bunch of sand. And it's the exact same, analogy that you just gave, right? If you just dump them all in willy nilly, like sand first, then pebbles, you're not going to have enough room to fit in all the rocks. But if you go the opposite direction, right? The rocks are the big important things in your life. God, your relationship with, your wife, your family, your friends. You put those in first, right? And then you take the things that are second most important to you. And those pebbles fill in some of the areas around the rocks. And then the sand's going to fit no matter what. It can just fit in wherever. And you can fit everything in. But yeah, definitely.
That's so good. You
It
know,
was
That's
it's
it
gonna
was
be
really
a
great to
amazing.
see.
You know, what's really amazing about what do they call it? The picture that you
analogy.
just painted for us. Yeah, an analogy. What's really powerful about that is if you are really about those rocks and you make them such a focus and they are like, you have a vision for each one of those rocks, nothing can get in your way. All the other sand can fill that thing up, and the sand could be like we talk about early on in our businesses, like chargebacks, people leaving your business. I mean, dude, in my first year, I went through like my accountant, like we just short story, like completely defrauding us and leaving the country and leaving us high and dry for a big bill. Like all these things came up. I dealt with in the second year of my business with family members getting sick and my dad having surgery and like all these things that could have taken me out completely. If the big rocks are really clear, Xander, nothing else matters. You get through them. You don't see it as a stopping point. You see it as like, well, this is life and I'm going to get through it because these are so important to me.
Mm.
I love that. And I, is that something that took you a little bit of time to cultivate? Because I feel like it's not as easy as just snapping your fingers. Like for me, what I've found is you kind of have to, or in my experience, I had to go through a period where, yeah, I was trying to put the sand in first. Like I'm just going to make this work come hell or high water. I'm just going to lock in, kind of like you said, hey, I'm going to lock in for 4 years and make this happen. And I was getting too caught up in the chargebacks, agents who promise the world, tell you everything that they think you want to hear, and then don't do anything. And you're like, why can't I make this guy see the vision or do this? And as soon as I took a step back, it was just like, it's going to be okay. I'm used to this. I've seen this before. I noticed that things come and go in my life in a way that is much more appealing. Like I had an agent who left, and then I randomly, in the middle of my AO run, he texted me this week. He's like, Xander, I made the biggest mistake leaving you guys, man. Like, how quickly can you get me back on board? And this guy's a top producer. I've seen him do 40, 50K in a month. And I'm like, well, the timing couldn't be more impeccable on this one. But it was
So it's just a button. It's just a button that I need to click. You're good.
But yeah, I've just found that the best advice that I have gotten is twofold. One was I heard Brad Smith at the first conference I ever went to, was just like, hold on for a year. Tell yourself you're not going to quit for a year. And then number two was Chris Clark. And he's just like, you're exactly where you need to be. It's not hard. It's just new. And so those two pieces of advice have gotten me through basically everything. I didn't quit. And then everything that felt really hard, it was like, it's just new, man. You'll get better at it.
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah. I'll take your advice on that. Honestly, it's like little things like that, through association or hearing someone speak that really impacts you. They say like not every call you hop on or training session you hop on is going to change the trajectory of your business, but you might hear one thing that sticks with you forever. So hold on to that. I would say it's a 1-year plan to figure this thing out, and it's a 3-year plan to get yourself free from, and that could be from a W-2 job, or that could be free from the income that you were making that someone else told you were worth, like fill in the blank. But this is really for me. I just kept telling myself 3-year plan, 3-year plan, 3-year plan. So I'll up the ante of 1 year. There's two factors to that. Like 1 year, you're gonna figure out how to do this thing if you stick with it. You're gonna get profitable if you stick with it. And then 3-year plan to really set yourself on fire and set yourself free. So Kate and I talk about that all the time. Our vision is like, even month 2, we were like, look, this is a 3-year plan. All right, let's not freak out right now. I'm not going to call my dad and ask for my job back. Okay. And there was kind of like that competitiveness in me where I was like, I don't want to call family and ask for help and go back to that. Little bit of an ego there in a good way. But I just kept telling myself 3-year, partnered with God on my vision. He put it in my heart. I'm going to explore it. I'm going to run after it like my hair's on fire. I think, a lot of people say they're like, I feel called to this. And then 6 months later, they're like, yeah, it just wasn't for me.
Dude, I hear that
yeah,
all the
but,
time.
Yeah, but
man.
the work was on you though. You know what I mean? God may be calling you to it, but the work's on you. Like maybe you just didn't work hard enough to get the right doors opened up or to get through the hard part. Galatians 6:9 says, do not grow weary in doing the good work, for at the right time, not your time that you choose, but at the right time, you will reap the harvest if you do not give up.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So that's
they
saying
forget
that
about
hard
that last
work
part.
and consistency. Yeah, they forget about what comes last. It's like, if you do not give up, it's coming,
That's going to be
you
a
feel
clip
called
right
to it,
there.
see it to the end. If you feel called to it, see it to the end.
That's a fact, man. One thing I wanted to
Xander,
ask you about, or go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
No. You go, bro.
Yeah, Xander, when I came into this, you and I could probably connect a little bit more on this because we have similar like visions for this, if you will. I didn't come into this for a full-time sales career forever, right? I came into this to build up a big enough team, make a big enough impact that my income would be replaced based on the value that I was giving. And we call those overrides in this business. So especially if you're looking at this as like, I want to get off the sales treadmill. Like I do love helping families, but I wanted to get off the sales treadmill. I've been in sales since I was 14, Xander. I used to sell cars at the dealership with my dad and then pass them off to someone who was legal to sell them. Like I've been in this for a while. So I wanted to get off the sales treadmill. So I saw this as I need to come in, get really good at sales so that I can gain some influence with those folks that I was teaching, and then work my agency up to a point where I can step away from it. And my mentor told me, she's like, once you're issuing 200K, you're going to be making somewhere between 20 and 25 grand a month passively. That's the time that you want to step out of the field because you can exponentially take it to the next level through you being a director and not a salesperson anymore. And that's kind of the whole mindset around like you don't have a business if you don't own a business if you can't leave it for a week. You have a job, right?
Right.
So I wanted a real business, not a job. So that was the vision, and I still have it. You know, I still have it. It's just now it's the next 3 years. What can we do in the next 3 years? It's been 3 years. What can we do in the next?
One thing I wanted to, I mean, there's a bunch that I want to ask you, but with our company, every new agent starts at an 80%. The top of the company's at 130%, and the period between being at a 125% contract and a 130 can be a lot in that 3-month qualification. And you're somewhere that I've never been, obviously. I'm at a 110. Xander's at a 105, about to be a 110. And I've gone through seasons where I was building and recruiting. And then I've gone through seasons where all I'm doing is sales because I liked the job. The job was easier than the business and it was simpler. It required less work. It was less stressful, easier to manage. However, you take a week off, you got a lot of work to do when you get back.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
I've got that vision. I'm getting back on the saddle, but you're further along the racetrack than me. And so for the people listening, what is what is it like where you're at? Like what are the problems you're facing? What is your like weekly activity look like? Like what are you focused on to get to the top contract of the company? Because what we have to focus on as producers couldn't be more different than what you're focused on as a builder who's
Mm.
building leaders.
I'll
So like,
challenge you on that. I think I know where I'm going to
please,
go with this. I'll challenge you on that. So what are we focused on? Think about leading indicators versus trailing indicators. Okay, a trailing indicator is going to be premium getting paid into your bank account. So if that's the trailing indicator, what's the leading indicator to that?
activity, baby, leads.
Okay, leads, activity, and then we set appointments and we sell policies, right? So the leading indicator would be investing into leads or getting leads and then doing the activity. Okay. So what's the activity that we want though? We're really looking for, like when we make dials, we want
We want
appointments, right?
appointments.
Yeah.
And sits.
So, yep, and then sales, absolutely. So the same focus for a producer, I'm focusing on as a director. When we talk about building an agency, the funnel matters. So what would be a trailing indicator for a builder? A new
Interviews,
writer, right?
contracts back, new writers.
It would be at the end of the funnel is new writer because they're finally out into the field. They've written their first piece of business and it feels real. Like Xander, you know when you interview someone, you have all the high hopes in the world for them. You're like, I got a guy, and then they download their course, they start studying, and then radio silence.
Yep.
Right. So the trailing indicator is a new writer, someone that's in the field. They just wrote their first policy. Now it's real. Because I didn't feel like this whole opportunity was real until I wrote my first policy and got paid on it. I got that $750 deposit and I was like, oh, you're telling me I can do this 5, 6, 7 times a week? I'm in. Right. So the leading indicators to build your agency is the activity as well. It's recruiting, running interviews, and developing a system and a process for people to move through the activation phase with ease, right? There's so many pieces that go into that. For us, it's like a first and then a second interview. For us, it's downloading the pre-licensing course, going through the team handbook, passing your state exam. Once you pass your state exam, we've got a sales training available for them, then getting contracted with the carriers and running for. So there's a lot of minutia in there, right?
Yeah.
Well, you can get good at each step, but you can dive into each step of that process, just like your sales process, and get better at each step of that process, making it smoother and smoother for agents to work their way through the activation phase. So part of my role now to make this thing go kaboom even more is ironing out that process and making it smoother for people, like having systems and automations maybe, or maybe hiring the right people to make that process smoother, and then filling it with as many people as possible, just like the sales game, just like the sales side. Our funnel needs to be massive as it comes in. Of course, we have more filtering, because I don't think you would turn down premium, would you? Unless the person was like, I don't have a bank account. Can I pay you in Monopoly money? Right? That's the only reason you'd turn down premium. Otherwise, I'm like, I'll take it all day. Your goal as a builder, though, is to identify good talent, and you do need to turn some down, right? So that's the major difference. Is I'm not going to turn down premium unless it's done the wrong way and unethically. But I am going to turn down the people that we bring into that recruiting funnel. My job now is to identify talent, because time is fleeting. You don't have a million hours in the week to spend with a bunch of people. So you need to be really good at selecting the people that you feel like will be successful here. So there is a filtration process to that. And gosh, I was bad at that when I was new. Identifying talent is a huge skill set. I'm downline to Danny Young, and he's probably one of the best at this, and seeing the potential in somebody and really being able to identify that early on. But that is a skill set that will pay you if you know where to manage your time and who to spend your time with. It'll really pay you in the long run, right? Because as a new builder, for me, I got really excited about someone. They weren't showing me the signs, but I was just excited about the person they were, right? So I spend all this time with them, training and developing and encouraging, but the buying signs weren't there, right? The activity wasn't there. Like the vision wasn't there for them. The language that I was hearing from them wasn't selling me on the fact that they would do this long term, or that they would at least try. So, I was just living on hopes and dreams with that person. So identifying talent would be the last thing on that. Yeah.
Yeah. That's something I've really had to come to terms with, of especially if I have a good connection with someone, right? Kind of like you said, there are people who, okay, sure, they'll say the right things, but then I think there's also a subset of that category of like, I like this person. And then they come in and maybe they are doing the right activity and they just aren't getting the results that they have or that they need. And then suddenly the activity changes. I mean, like they're like, I don't know if I believe in this so much anymore. That has been an area where I've had a very difficult time, just transparently. How do you think about that? Right? Like somebody comes in, they start fast.
You and everyone else. Dude, I'm there. I was there with you. So like, I felt this so much. I'm a people person. I'm a connector creative. That's in my DNA. Like, so I care, maybe too much about people and them doing well here and their well-being. So that's something I struggle with big time. At the level that you're at right now, you're going to feel it a lot more than when you grow your team larger, because at a certain point, you're going to have to just really trust, like, not saying that you don't, Xander, but you're going to have a massive trust. I'm going to also, as I continue to grow, in the numbers of this game. In the, like, the numbers do not lie. For sales, for building, there is such a number, like there's different numbers that you can trust big time in this game. So maybe we can, like, let's map out your next promotion. I'll show you how much I trust the numbers, okay?
Let's
map out your next promotion. All right,
Yeah.
so let's take your issue paid business from last month. Take your production out of that.
Okay.
For me, it's
actually,
my
you know what?
promotion,
Let's do it with your production. Let's do it with your production. I'd like to see that number too.
With my production, let me see. I'm getting opt. We know opt.
You cleared you cleared 30 grand. You're on month 3 of your AO runs.
Yeah.
How
That's
much
all
did
you
you
need to
clear
do
by?
again.
We ended up issuing just under 43,
Okay,
and
let's take
23 of
42.
that was me. Okay.
So let's take 42. Okay, 23 of that was you. So you're an outlier there. All right,
Because the
what's the
thing,
total number? Do the math. What's the total number without you?
20.
Okay, cool. So 20, how many riders made up that 20? Now we're going to map out your next promotion.
That was 4 people actually issuing business.
Okay, so what's 20,000 issued divided by 4?
5 grand.
5 grand. Okay. So you know that through your next couple promotions, you're going to issue somewhere around 20 grand, right? Is that like your, hey, it's a good month for me if I issue 20 grand. Is that right?
No, I have higher expectations for myself than that. I was actually a little disappointed to see it that low. I want to
Okay.
be like 30 or higher.
Okay. And so let's shoot for the promotion right above AO. So we're going to shoot for 110 together. So you need to be at 45,000 2 months in a row.
Yep,
All
with 9
right. And
riders.
you know that you're going to take care of a certain portion of that.
Yeah,
So based on that 20,000 divided by 4, which is
5.
okay, based on that, how many more bodies do you need on your team to hit that 110 promotion?
Say I'm still doing, let's conservatively 20, so that leaves 25. So that would mean I only
One
need,
more body.
yeah,
One more person. Yeah, and that's going to feel a lot lighter right now because you're so good at this, right? Like your production plays into that so much. So it's easier to map out right now. When you go from 115 to 120, now you're talking like close to 100 grand in issue business. You're still going to play your numbers into that, but you're going to
yeah,
know like this is just a head count game. Yes, there are real humans with real desires and vision for this with good hearts like yes, this is a people business, but you got to see it as a numbers game first so that you don't get so tied up in, hey, I had high hopes for that person and they just left me, right? It's just a head count game. So back in August, I'll give you guys an example. Back in August of this last year, my business was issuing somewhere around 150 grand a month. Okay. I had somewhere around 45 to 50 riders doing that. And you guys
Whoa.
know you can hit 130 with 45 riders. So
Yep.
yeah,
for me, I was like, man, I want to get to that 130 level. I need another 100 grand in issued business. So I went to my mentor and I was like, this is what I want. This is what I want to do. And she's like, man, you got to really have a better relationship with the numbers. She's like, how many more people do you need in your business to hit this next promotion? I did the same math I just gave you guys. It was 20 people. I needed 20 more people to hit 130 to go from issuing 150 a month to issuing 250 a month. So you can do this at any level. Take your total amount of issued business from the previous month, divide it by your head count. That is like your APV issued per head number. A good
right.
number for you guys that are listening is somewhere between 3 and 4,000. If you get over 4,000, that means that you have a couple really good producers and everyone else is just doing a little.
Right.
Okay, if you have under 3,000 per head, that means that a lot of people are doing a little and it's going to take a lot more effort to get there.
Yeah.
Are
Yeah.
you tracking?
Yes.
Cool. So, when we were right at that 150 range, I had to swallow that pill and just say, "Hey, this is not our time right now. We literally need 20 more bodies in the house."
Yeah.
So I gave myself some breathing room and I took the pressure off hitting 130 and all I focused on was just pouring into the funnel. I just need head count right now. So I poured into the funnel. So I don't know how we got here, but Elijah, you started the question with what does my week look like? I'm not producing anymore, but I'm spending a lot of time with my team, those people that are moving, and I'm doing about 40 interviews a week.
You said 40?
Yep.
Okay. That's
Yep.
dude, that formula, total amount for the people who missed that. I'm writing this down. I'm literally taking notes right now. Total amount of issued business divided by your head count gives you the premium per body. I like
Premium per body. Yep.
that. And that way you can project and predict your next promotion and know like is this the run, or do I need to put more bodies in the funnel and give it a couple weeks before we can really push for this?
Otherwise, do you know what I feel like could have happened? I could have ended up forcing it. I could have ended up pressuring. I've got 45 riders. I could have pressured everyone. We don't want from our team. We want for them.
That's
Yeah.
good.
Right? That's a big thing that we need to realize. Like, if it gets to a point where you're needing from them to hit your next promotion, you're you're doing leadership backwards, because leadership is service. The best leaders are the best servants. So how could I want from someone if I'm serving them?
Facts.
Right? That'd be the wrong type of relationship. So really, maybe you're looking at that next promotion. Maybe you need to take the foot off the gas with expecting what you got in your hand, and just go pour more into the funnel and then reassess it. Because I don't want to ever look at somebody and be like, hey, I'm gonna need at least 30 grand from you this month to hit my next promotion. How about we flip that around and say, anything I can do to help serve yours? Right? Because I know that I'm going to be filling the funnel. So all I really need to focus on, if I'm talking to Xander and he's on my team, is, man, is there anything I can do for you? Is there anything I can help you get to the next level? Right?
I love that.
Yeah.
I love
Yeah.
that. So we got about 10 minutes here. And one thing I wanted to see if we could dig into, because we've got June, July, August, conference in August, end of summer. We're in Q3. Yeah, Q3. Scott, what does a 90-day Madman cycle look like? Me and Xander want to go on a 90-day run. We want to kick some tail, blow it up, get some promotions. He's going to hit AO, put a bunch of money in the bank, and when the dust settles, have a team of people rocking and rolling. And
Yeah.
so what is a 90-day Madman cycle consist of, so that we can just go do it and
I mean,
execute?
typically when I hear that word used, I'm thinking production, right? Madman cycles usually have to do with production. So, but you guys want both. You want to grow your agency and get paid well from the policies that you're selling. So I'm going to keep it super simple. I learned this from Casey Watkins and Marshall Wayland. Those are two people that are definitely good to listen to when they speak, just FYI. And it comes down to the two buckets that they always talk about. I would say, dude, if you could execute on this for 52 weeks, your entire life would change. I would bet that. Okay.
I would also bet
20,
that.
20 quality interviews a week. So if you need 40 on the books to get 20 quality, we could probably get better at getting our show rate up. But you guys take your show rate, what you're currently seeing right now, 20 interviews per week. I need to talk to 20 people. All right. And move them on, whatever your process looks like. I need to be able to move some people on out of that 20. All right. And then running 15 to 20 appointments.
Yeah.
Okay. And a lot of people, they look at their weeks, and I heard this last week from an agent who wants to build. He's way earlier in the game than you guys. So now you have the numbers that I would run from now until conference. Great. If you could do that for a whole year, oh my gosh, your business and life would be different. He came to me and he's just like, hey man, I'm struggling with my schedule. And like, I'm making about $300 or $400 a week. I'm setting the appointments, but he's like, I want to build this thing and I want to get my schedule all figured out. You guys have probably heard this conversation before, right? Like, how do I balance it all? And I'm like, man, do you mind if I give you some honest feedback? Because I saw, his breakdown of dials per day. Okay. I was like, I want to give you some honest feedback. I was like, dude, you need to collapse more of your timeline. Like, why not do the amount of dials you're doing right now in the first 2 days of the week instead of the first 5? Why don't you do those amount of dials in the first 2 days, right? So production schedule, this is what I ran when I was really getting it in the field. Friday dials, Saturday afternoon appointments, Monday evening appointments, Tuesday rollover follow-up appointments if I needed to roll some people over. So we got Friday, Saturday, Monday, Tuesday, 4-day production week. I really wanted to hit 5 or 6K for the week by Monday evening. Think about the mentality going into Monday evening at 5 or 6K. You're on top of the world that week. So now when I'm doing 20 interviews the next 3 days, I would take Wednesday afternoon off, run interviews Thursday, Friday morning, all day Thursday. When I would run into interviews the rest of the week, I'm feeling good. I've got my production taken care of. I can talk about how great things are and actually mean it, right? So it gives you that, like, I think his problem wasn't his schedule. It was how he was looking at how much he was able to actually do in a day. Because guys, really, like $200-$300 in a day, it's not that much.
No, we're talking about 5 hours of work.
we hear a lot of people saying like, oh, I want to make $300 in a week. And I respect that. Everyone has different needs and goals for this, but really collapse that into 2 days, see where your business goes. Cause then you're going to have all this other time to free up for building. So if I was doing the madman cycle, I would really look at my week like that. Like how much can I get done in production in 3 days? Of course, there's going to be some rollover appointments, some follow up, but then spending the other 3 days just purely focused on building.
Hmm. And that is so helpful because it's tricky to wear two hats in the same day. Like you're running interviews and mentoring agents, and then you got an appointment the very next call, and it's like it's quite the switch up to where if you can consolidate your time frames, like you're saying, but also compartmentalize what you're focused on that day, you're going to be so much more effective at the task at hand on that day.
Yeah.
What you just said is actually how my brain works. So if you looked at my calendar, like when I was running this play and really heavily involved in both, you'll see you know how at the top of the calendar you can set a theme for the day or like a
Yeah.
calendar appointment for the whole day. It would say AO day, AO day, AO day, producer day, producer day, producer day. And you really have to protect those days because you
Yeah.
can't take the hat on and put it back, take it off and put it back on and take it off and put it back on. Because you're going to be talking to an agent thinking about your next client appointment and you
Yeah.
may come off in the wrong way to them, right? We know how we get when we're in production mode. Like we're moving, we're focused, we're thinking about how to serve that next person. Now you have an agent asking you questions about like how they can get back into opt because they got logged out, right? You get really frustrated and say,
Yeah.
man, just figure it out, bro. Just figure it out. Like you can
Yeah.
do this, and you come off the wrong way, and that's how they see you as a leader. How you show up as a leader is however is who you are as a leader.
Mm.
Facts, plain and simple. How you show up in every setting that you walk into. Don't walk into it if you're not ready. Don't hop on the team call if you're not ready.
Mm.
Don't answer the phone with the agent if you're not ready. Because how you show up once to them could be how they always see you, right? So those hats are so important, Elijah. What you just said was so gold.
Mm. You're dropping bombs, bro. This is going to be such a good episode.
Yeah. And now you got me rethinking my schedule. I'm like, I need to front load everything instead of like starting. I'll make some dials on Saturday, and then Monday's the day where I really hammer the phones usually. But imagine Monday's
Mm.
just all appointments. It's a great way to
It
start the
could do
week.
some healthy mind trick to you because like Friday, usually most people are like, oh, I'm off for the week. It's like wind down time. Like, how about Friday is like your Monday? Friday's time to reset and go like 2 to 6 in the afternoon is actually really good because most people's mindsets when you're calling them are like, I'm getting off work in a couple hours. I'm happy. I get to see my family. So I'm okay calling them while they're at work. 2 to 6 p.m. on a Friday is so gold for dialing. But if you see that as like I need to get 200 dials in, this is my Monday, I'm setting up for the beginning of my week, it'll help you feel like the rest of the week is so easy and that you can just focus on being there for your agents and getting your interviews done.
Mm.
Yeah, it's just a little shift up.
Xander, you got any last minute things you wanna ask Scott here?
Hey, just before this is more tactical, so we've done kind of, leadership, scheduling and everything. Before we got on here, Elijah said that you were consistently issuing over 20,000 a month, taking less than double digit digital leads in a week. And that I know there's a lot of people who want to know how the heck you're doing that because I was taking more than that and issuing around there. But hey, doing less with more is always great, right? I'm curious what your process was around that because that's phenomenal. You must have been one of the top digital lead producers in the entire company.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was good. I was so bad my first like full year in the field, guys. So I have to say that as a precursor. Like I was so bad. I submitted 308,000 my first full year. So I had like that 5 or 6 months. I started in September, start the brand new year. That was my first full year in the field. I submitted 308,000 and I got like half of that issued. Like I was so bad. Maybe 60%. I'll give myself some credit there, but I was like a 60% issue guy. So my income was like you saw 308,000 on paper, but it wasn't that. So that was the year where I really learned how to get more out of the people that I was actually talking to. So last year, 2024, I did 29 5K weeks, 10 10K weeks, and one 20K week.
Wow.
And I consistently issued anywhere from like 20, 23, 24,000, somewhere in that range, because I was getting really focused on getting referrals and running a policy delivery appointment with each of my clients. So if I found a really good client, it's just like building. If you find a really good agent, they're going to know more good people.
Yeah.
So you're going to want to mine that vein. Like, hey, if this person's a professional and they've done really well in their previous sales job, they probably know more professionals that have done really well in their previous sales job. It's just like a good client. So I would run a policy delivery with them once their policy was delivered to their house or to their email, and I would ask for referrals. And I played this over and over and over again. In fact, one lady that I took it was a digital lead that ended up putting me on D&D. I ran an appointment with her a couple weeks later because I ended up just calling her from my cell phone, just like we all do, right? Like switchboard got shut out. I'm going to call from my cell phone. So I called her from my cell phone. We sold her a policy. We ended up selling her $38,000 in premium between her friends and family members. $38,000. I did write another 300 last year, but 89,000 of that was referral business. So taking in 10 leads a week for me was like, they're not just 10 leads, because I actually only need to sell 2 or 3 of those this week. You guys know how the numbers are. Like, you're not going to sell all 10 of those your first week. You're going to be following up with them for the next 25 days. Okay. I only need to sell 2 or 3 of them this week because my goal was 5K. I wasn't crushing it out of the park, but I wasn't doing bad. 5K consistent week will make you very profitable in this business consistently. So I just needed like 2 or 3 of those people to say yes. And I just needed to work the referrals on those 2 to 3 people. So be thinking relatives, be thinking rugrats, be thinking referrals. There's always a kid's policy available. There's always an aunt or uncle that's close to. There's always a spouse that could need a policy. And I was always just thinking that when I was talking to that person, like, who else in the family can I help?
Who else?
Who else?
Yeah.
Man, dude, this is fire. This is fire.
I'm going to have to go back and re-listen to the whole thing. Yeah.
I'm so thankful. I look up to you, man. You got a whole page of notes on me. I look up to you, man. I really enjoy connecting with you when we get to. So we'll have to spend some more time together.
It's like the Spider-Man meme where like they're both looking at each other. Like, I look up to you, you look up to me. We're doing the same thing, but you're just killing it, man.
Love you, man.
Dude,
perfect. That's
thank
awesome.
you so much for your time. Thank you for being vulnerable, so open about your faith too. Like, if you don't follow Scott Schnitzer on Instagram, go follow him. Scott, for the people who listen to this, they're not with our company and they're like, this dude's a badass. I want to work with him. How do they reach out to you, man?
Just connect. I mean, we're all on social media. I think just connecting would be cool. Drop a DM, say hi. At Scott Schnitzer _.
At Scott
or you can just search
_
Scott Schnitzer. I'm the only one out there with a beard. So really long, really long red beard. You'll see it in the profile picture there. But yeah, just connect.
Hard to miss.
Instagram's good. Yeah.
Awesome. Dude, thank you for this. This is going to be one I go back and listen to a couple times over the next 90 days. Got my focus, got the play. We just got to run it, dude. Appreciate you.
I'm honored by that. Talk soon, guys.
See ya.
Sounds good. Bye-bye.